Good morning.
Morning.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Loud and clear.
Hey, look at this guy. He's actually at an event jamming while we're all together.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Happy Monday. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. For all the moms that celebrated, I hope you really had an opportunity to enjoy.
Thank you, and a happy belated birthday to you.
Oh, no, thank you very much. Thank you. It
I
was
was wondering
quite a
why
different...
you look a little different today, but yeah, I figured out why now.
Yeah, I know. I've got a few more grays.
Hey, welcome to the club.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. I don't know if everybody noticed, but I woke up and there was snow. And I actually said to myself, I felt like for those Friends fans on TV, Friends, I felt like Joey. Why, God, why? 50-year-old and snow. And for anybody and everybody who participated in that video, I just want to say thank you because it was a tear jerker. It was amazing. It was just great. So thank you for that. So who's excited about talking about real estate for this week? Am I the only one?
I'm excited.
Great. I'm going to share my screen. Let me just get this going here. I'm getting a little bit better with the way this thing works. Am I a co-host, Daniel?
Are you what? Sorry.
Am I a co-host?
You're hosting it.
Okay, great. Because sometimes if I'm not,
Yeah, if somebody else starts it first. Yeah, but you started it. You're the host.
Okay, got it. Fantastic. So let's talk about the market. What time is it? 10:00. We got to make sure everybody's who could be here. It's about 10:04. So I want to give everybody a market update. It was quite the promising results that I was seeing as the week was going on last week. We were looking at the Broker Bay results from the back end. I know does everybody receive the email from Broker Bay?
I do, but I didn't get it this week, so I'm not sure what happened.
Okay, so I'm going to make sure that everybody receives it. We'll actually email them and make sure that you guys get it. Because what happens is sometimes they send it to broker owners and offices, and sometimes they send it directly to everybody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that everybody gets it again. So last week, not just for Broker Bay, just for what we've been seeing, we've seen a 30% increase in showings, and we've seen a significant spike in actual listings near the end of last week. So as the government was starting to discuss opening of businesses going forward, there was a lot more confidence and a lot more, the antsiness that existed before was much more evident as we started getting more and more phone calls and started seeing much more activity. So we also started seeing more of a spike in listings, not just as a TREB level, but also we've seen it from a RE/MAX Ultimate level. Now, something that I did last week on Thursday and Friday, I called a lot of broker owners in the RE/MAX network. I called them as far as Cambridge, London. I called them in Brampton, Milton, Orangeville. I called the broker owner in Durham, Mississauga. And obviously I talked to the broker owners who were around me. And they were also, Toronto was seeing a great spike, a good spike, but what was surprising is that some of the outlying areas were showing a greater result than what Toronto did. And what I wanted to share is that this is interesting information about neighboring communities. My interpretation of what I'm seeing and from the conversation that I had is that quite possibly these new work from home employment offers might actually be more create a more buoyancy in the marketplace in the surrounding areas. So what I mean by that is, A, if you're looking at affordability of property in Toronto, you know, a lot of people were going out to the outlying areas to begin with and driving up prices. But now, with some of the moods changing and some of the people maybe even staying from a work from home employment for a longer period of time, that you might actually see values and interest in real estate return faster than the ones in Toronto. So typically what we see is the market stops first in Toronto and takes longer for the outlying areas to experience that stop. And then the recovery starts in downtown Toronto and spreads its way out. This time, what the last 2 weeks have been showing, this is not just a 1 week study that I've been involved with. These have been conversations and note taking. I just didn't share it with you last week. I wanted to see if there's a trend. But what I saw this past week, was that yes, the activity drop from what we were pre-COVID to where we are today is less than what it was downtown. Now, the media always seems to paint brush the entire marketplace with, you know, we're down by 67%. There are some communities in Toronto in really high demand neighborhoods that have not experienced that. And now we've discovered, or, you know, through my conversation with them, that there are some communities outside of downtown Toronto that have not experienced that as well. So one of the communities that have not experienced that would be Hamilton. Hamilton seems to be doing better. Burlington seems to be doing better. Oakville, you know, in certain pockets seems to be doing better. So, but more so I've seen it when we're getting even further away, so past Oakville. It's just something to watch. I wanted to share it with you. You have any questions about that? Anyone?
Yeah, quick question. When you say getting better, Hamilton, for example, you mean as far as activity or prices stabilizing, prices going up? What do you mean by getting better?
So the amount of sale drop in, like, we had a significant bigger drop in actual sales in downtown Toronto than some of the outlying areas like Hamilton. So their drop was not as significant as we've experienced. I mean, for a period of time, we'll say a week or so or 2 weeks, it was bad everywhere. It doesn't matter where you were in Ontario. But it seems that in those areas, the rebound is much better than it has been in downtown Toronto. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
So in values, what's really interesting is I have experienced a tremendous uptick in consumer-oriented calls. So the calls coming in are stuff like, is this a good time? These are people like that I personally know. I've spoken to some of our agents, clients as well. These calls are showing that people are now looking at transacting. They're looking at, you know, the funny word of real estating at this time. So that's quite interesting what we're seeing there too. My gut feeling is that we are going to see, I was going to say not a waste summer spring market. It was supposed to be a late summer spring market. So I got to change my slide before I share it with everybody. I'm definitely not going to waste my summer, and I hope nobody else wastes their summer either, right? So everything is posting, pointing. That's fine, you know, but it's not going to be a wasted summer. As you know, it was my birthday on Saturday. It's Mother's Day yesterday. It's my daughter's birthday today. We're not wasting anything. We're going to celebrate each and every single day we can. And I just don't know what I did to give you guys snow on my birthday. I apologize for that. You know, hopefully from here on in, the nicer weather continues. My point to you on a serious note is and I'm not saying this to try to blow smoke or to make you feel something that's not happening. Every single number that we're seeing is pointing towards a late summer type of spring market. Talking about spring market and summer and the way we need to work through all this. Sorry, 1 second. We need to look at how we're going to be transacting with our clients. We need to be looking at how we're going to be conducting business, and we have to look at within ourselves being responsible. I just want everybody to know who's on this call today that nothing would make me happier than to have everything just erase and go back to normal. This is not a Tim Syrianos leadership, whether it's Larry or Jen, or this is a government guideline follow that we must be part of. The ideas that we do not want you to use the offices or be around each other is furthest thing from the truth. I spoke to city officials that I happen to have feel the privilege and benefit of meeting during my time in volunteering. And I just want to share with everybody that they're going to have enforcement officers going into businesses to make sure that there are rules in place for the way we actually, walk around and do things. So we have 42, 44-inch hallways. These are bylaws that we follow when we built the offices. That's not 6 feet. None of our hallways are 6 feet. So we can't really be walking around without masks on and, when we're in the office. We have ordered plexiglass for all the receptionist areas with signage to make sure that if we do have an enforcement audit or if somebody walks in, that they have that security and feeling of being safe. The open computer areas cannot be used for this week. We're asking, give us some time to be able to get this plexiglass installed. And what we'd like to see is every other computer being used. So if you're going to be in the open area, you need to wear a mask, and every other computer will provide the distance. And you're going to need to wipe down the computer keyboard and the phone if that's where you're going to be while using the offices. And we're not like this is not for this week. This is for when we actually are phase 1 of opening. Okay, so this is not for this week. I'm just giving you the guidelines of how we're working. For private office users, obviously when you're in your office, you are isolated. It makes complete sense that you do not need to wear a mask while you're in there. So in the way I envision it and picture it, and for government guidelines, you're wearing gloves or you're wiping down the handles, you walk into the office, you're wearing a mask, you go right to your office, you close your door behind you, take off your mask and go to work. No problem, right? You need to go to the washroom, put on your mask, walk outside. Why are you wearing a mask to go to the washroom? It's not because washrooms smell. It's because there might be somebody in the hallway that you don't know when they might walk by. So you need to be prepared. Even if you have your mask on your neck or on your head, like a cone forehead, doesn't make a difference as long as you're ready to put it on. We want you to make sure that, things are safe. Please, 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 no open time at reception. We're not there to talk about coffee and how was your weekend and lean on the counter and we need to make sure that they feel safe. As employers, we have a responsibility to maintain a healthy workplace. And at this time, healthy does not mean bullying or being rude. Even though that it is captured. At this point, it means people feeling comfortable actually working. It's very important that people feel comfortable working. For our next phase, and we'll be making an announcement, our phase 1, our office hours will remain 9 to 5 until after Labor Day weekend. Victoria Day weekend, not Labor Day weekend. Oh my God, I hope it's not Labor Day weekend. We'll say Victoria Day weekend is the goal that I've been speaking to our entire admin about comfort and I'm making phone calls to government, to city officials to make sure that we're good this way. So after Victoria Day weekend, we are looking at opening until 7 p.m. and having Saturdays and Sundays open from 10 to 2. So we are going to provide more opportunity for everybody to have the assistance on the weekends as well. Any questions so far? Does everybody, please appreciate here, understand that this is something that, the first bullet point is we must follow government guidelines. There's no personal attack on anybody. It's not about anybody feeling that they're not safe or clean. It has nothing to do with how we feel about you. It's just making sure that we follow these guidelines. So open areas will be wearing masks. This whole phase 1 that you're reading right now is post Victoria Day weekend. That is the goal. So not this coming Tuesday is where we're going with this. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We've already made a list of staff, reaching out to them, seeing who's available to work until 7. Obviously, we cannot have 2 people side by side, but at the Bayview office, there's like 8 feet apart between staff members. For the St. Clair office, it's a little bit dicey. For the Dundas office, a little bit dicey as well. So we have to work through that. Let me go forward. And that's it for that. I'm going to stop sharing really quick because there's more I want to actually get into. So, screen share. Open dialogue. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask? Any concerns?
Gina.
Yeah. Hey, Gina.
Hi. I'm just interested, just in your point of view. I know that you don't have a crystal ball, but I know that you're working ongoing to find out. But do you have any kind of like idea, sort of as a future forecast? Do you feel that there'll be some kind of balance? Will this be, because there's so many conflicting things, that it can come back, it won't come back, it will come back, and we do have to honor these rules and these new policies, and I'm certainly all for that. But I'm just wondering, like, overall, just from a leadership's point of view, not a psychic, because I know you're not, but just, do you see an overall picture of, because things are changing, but like, just what's your viewpoint? That's what I'm interested in, your viewpoint, knowing what you know.
That's a loaded cannon.
I know.
And no, but it's good. I just want to make sure I answer it correctly, because I do have an opinion, and I do have, this is not, obviously I don't have a crystal ball, but I really have a lot of conviction in my opinion on this one. Okay. So can you give me, like, from a standpoint of how many sales? Are you talking about how we'll be interacting? Do you mean when we'll be back to a normalized way of living?
Well, I don't think we will go back to a normal, quote unquote, back to way we were. And not so much in numbers of sales. I think just a projection of how we'll be able to operate. Like, it's going to be awkward in the beginning. I think I've mentioned this before. I go back to 9/11, even though it didn't affect our country directly, the way we traveled was never the same. We had to take more time. We had to find little bottles. We couldn't travel, with carry-on the way we did, or what stuff was in our, and we've all adapted to that. And that, to me now, looking from that perspective, is nowhere near this kind of global kind of change that we're going through. So that, am I answering that question? Am I becoming clear about what I'm looking for?
So if you're asking about the operations within the industry with showing property, and you're looking at, I look at that as a way we will be operating with you, within the brokerage. So
Yeah.
I'm going to say that I believe like, this is what I believe, right? Is that we will not be a society of wearing face masks forever. Okay. I really do not believe to my core that we'll be wearing face masks forever. Do I believe there will be a second wave? I do believe there'll be a second wave. I do believe that we'll have to, do I believe we're going to shut down the economy again? I do not believe we're going to shut down the economy again. I believe that we're going to the numbers that are out there. So I had a radio interview yesterday. I had a radio interview on 1010, and there was somebody that I spoke to that their entire family had COVID.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and if there's ever somebody to speak to that where the entire family, if you want to know the true numbers of COVID and what's really going on and not listen to the media, it's speaking to somebody who actually had COVID, right? And what was shared with me is that this is the reporting numbers. The real numbers are here. So while we may think that there's 20,000 people, in actuality, because this gentleman and wife and child all went through COVID, they discovered through the conversations that the real numbers were far greater of how many people are asymptomatic walking around and not knowing that they even have it, okay? And the actual testing is gonna take almost 2 years to go through all the testing. And then yet you've been tested and then you get negative, you're negative, and then you have a virus, 3 weeks later. So there's a lot of the unknowns there. I'm gonna go back to maybe 2 meetings ago to everybody and to Gina. I have booked our Christmas party for December the 3rd. I did it not because I'm arrogant, not because I'm oblivious. It's because I just truly believe that you cannot scramble last minute and change your whole life. I believe we will be in a general meeting setting again. I believe that we will be celebrating together at awards night again. It's just, we don't know if it's going to be in 9 or 10 months or in 18 months. That is what we don't know. For the time being, we'll be wearing masks, to be transacting, doing business. I believe that the coronavirus has leapfrogged technology by 10 years, right? I mean, if the Toronto Real Estate Board can create virtual open houses in 10 days, that would have taken 2 years if the coronavirus was not here. So do I see a lot of technology opportunities for our business and our industry to use? Yes. Is it for everyone? No, right? Like it's not for everyone. So from a sales perspective, I see a very robust late summer marketplace. We're not going to replace all the sales and be at the same frenzied height that we would have been in February, March, April, in end of March, April, and May, if this did not happen. Don't forget, we're at like 2,000 and change transactions, 170 transactions a day, and we should be at 8,000, 9,000 transactions. So that gives you what happened. With my discussion on the radio, I shared a comment that I believe in, and you have recession, you have depression. Neither one is in my vocabulary on this one, because I believe that we've gone through a suppression. Like we really have a lot of people who want to find a way to transact right now. So the human species is very social. It's very, it just has to overcome the shock and the fear, and the recovery time's going to be longer. That's all. Because SARS, and I know I'm rambling on, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get everything out there, right? SARS was more confined, but it created a lot of shock. My daughter was born during SARS. Like, I remember that, like, oh my God, right? And we don't have little bottles all the time and masks all the time, right? Like it's, again, I do believe that there's a reaction. I'm more concerned with the mental recovery standpoint and how long it's going to take. Did I answer that?
It was a broad question, but you did answer it. Thank you.
Yeah, what I'm not going to do, I'm going to share this conversation with you. You know how many brokers want to shut down offices? Like completely shut down offices. And, you know, if they have 8 locations, they want to have 4. If they have, you know, this many square feet, they're going to have this many square feet. Like and I call that herd mentality, right? Oh, we need these big cavernous offices with private offices. So everybody goes out and builds these big offices. Oh, we need these small offices with these cool kitchens, bistro sets inside them, right? So everybody downsizes and they build these, you know, these funky cafe, you know, offices now, right? Now the big herd mentality is, oh, let's shut down every, you know, this is an opportunity to shut down offices. We don't need this, right? But how does that, like, that's called herd mentality to me. Like, take a step back, and you need to be a balance in between. I myself cannot work this way. I can't work from home. You cannot, like, I'm telling you, this is not a haircut. I've pulled my hair out, okay? I can't do this. I can't wait to see everybody. I can't wait, like, for us to stop doing this and start doing this. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, we cannot fit every person in one box, right? It just doesn't happen. So there needs to be balance. I'm going to openly share that I've taken a tremendous step back with a bottle of wine. And I've really thought about the horizon and where we're going to be. And I'm not changing anything in our office culture and environment. I think we're set in the right balanced way, you know, and I actually believe that I don't have enough offices, because every single appointment I have with an agent outside, the first question they ask me is, do you have any space available? During COVID, they're asking me if I have space available. Like, I want you to give you the 50,000 foot view here, because we're, you know, you can't be alone, like, on an island on this one, right? So we need to take a step back, reflect, and say, okay, you know, it's just going to take a longer recovery time. It's weird. Like, the first time that we actually are face to face, it's going to be weird. You know, the first time you sit down with for many of us, our parents, it's going to be weird. Like, this weekend on Mother's Day, Mary and I went with our kids to both parents, and we were itching to finally say, okay, already, give me a hug, right? Like we are there. So let's not race the media. And I'm sorry to be crude, but, you know, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one, right? Like, we got to just take a step back, see what's right for you. You know, for Daniel, you know, this might be right. You know, for Gina, this may be right. And we just got to manage our way through it. You know, we still have to meet people and get that energy of who they're going to choose as an agent by being face to face, right? It just, the recovery time, we don't know how long it's going to be, but that's what we're going through right now. We're going through the recovery time. From an economic standpoint, 2 weeks ago, the amount of trolling of buyers in the marketplace looking for a great deal was like over the top. And now it's not happening as much anymore, because sellers are saying, you know, forget it, it's not happening. And prices are holding steady. You know, and people are realizing that, no, I'm not underselling my house. I might be within 5% or 8%, depending on price point. The higher the price, the bigger the percentage. But there's a sense of calm amongst sellers. The agents are telling me that the sellers are digging their heels in and they're going to wait. And that just shows that real estate in Toronto is the entire market, really. Like it's a very knowledgeable base is in Toronto, and it's just going to take some longer term recovery. Now, in restaurants, consumer confidence. In 1981, in 1989, in 2008, in 2018, with every single downturn, there was no stimulus. We've talked about this before. Most businesses are operating on having their employment subsidized. The part that's going to be the hardest hit is the restaurant industry, the ones where there's patios and restaurants, right? They're the ones that we don't know how long it will take before they recover. But I will share with you in dialogue with our commercial side and with dialogue outside of our office, because I do have contacts at pretty big commercial brokerages. There is the vulture mentality. There is big money looking at spaces, and a lot of closings are for October, November. So, that's where they're looking at. So they're going to slowly open, and they're trying to maneuver, for a later time. So that's the only part. And the last part is for employment confidence. And I just want to be blunt. A lot of businesses are discovering they don't need 10 people. They only need 8. They only need 9. They only need 7. So there is going to be, out of the percentage of unemployment, it won't all evaporate back to where we were. There will be at least 3% higher unemployment rate, in my humble opinion, because technology has leapfrogged, has brought people 5, 7, 8 years ahead. Even our own brokerage, and I say this openly, we've actually had our paperless software is almost ready to be launched. It's almost ready, because we were too busy to do it for almost a year. And there were so many bumps and there were so many potholes in the software. These companies have fixed all the holes within 3 weeks. That's how fast they're working. So you're going to see that even for the real estate industry, do I need 20 people? Can I do it with 15 or 18 or 17? Here's an open, honest, from the heart question. Okay, does a real estate company need to be open till 9 p.m.? Till 9 p.m. Ask yourself that, because pardon me.
Yes.
Who's that?
Unless you have a good back-end system that has full access to the brokerage software.
Yes.
Having to page an agent and wait for return is so old school and horrible.
So, Jeff, I'm going to jump in on this one, and I'm going to share with you that during this last 8 weeks, we have now surpassed 70% of all bookings happening automatically online.
Yeah, but not everybody has Broker Bay, which is awesome.
No, but my point is, it's Broker Bay today, and showing time is coming for other brokerages, right? And I'm going to share this with you, that the software that Quick Office Commander has, the software that Broker Bay has, and the software that Showing Time has, when you're on Stratus and you click on the actual showing, right, to make a showing, you bypass the office. It goes right to the seller. The seller confirms it on the spot. So what people think is that when you book an appointment on Stratus, that the office actually calls a seller. I'm telling you this, guys, everybody, the software automatically messages the seller presses a button saying yes, no, or modify, and it goes right back to the cooperating agent without speaking to a receptionist. Now,
Close at 7.
pardon me?
So close at 7 now.
No. But
I'm
my,
kidding.
my
No, it's
no,
perfect.
but my thing
Right?
is, I'm gonna tell you again, openly, candidly, sincerely. Do you know what our staff does between 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock every night before COVID? Homework. Did you get that? They're doing homework. Because the calls, they drop off, a lot of things happen a certain way, like there's nothing there. And, we've been monitoring this for years, but heaven forbid that we change the hours in the industry. Heaven forbid you change, right? Now, we're not saying that we're going to change to 7. We're going to go to 7 first. And then we're going to see after that. We got to make sure there's business for everybody, right? We have to be open up Saturdays and Sundays. But again, just going back to the earlier comment, technology has leapfrogged in the past 8-9 weeks. What an agent would need, from staff would be if there's multiple offers, if there's multiple offers and they need some assistance to make sure that they're using the office space and they're doing all that kind of stuff. But these are just all questions, right? That you got to look at, and what's going to happen with employment going forward.
What about checks?
What about, sorry?
Checks.
Text?
Deposit checks.
What do you mean by text?
No, deposit.
Checks, money checks.
Yeah.
Oh, checks. Yeah. So that is something where you're looking at what happened in the past 8-9 weeks. The amount of EFT and wire transferring that's been going on in the past 8 weeks has been just through the roof, right? That's the only reason why we would have to be open past 7 is to accept bank drafts or certified checks. As a paper.
Do we as a brokerage accept if, let's say I get a deposit check, I take it to a bank where it was or I guess our bank or whatever it is, and have them deposit it? Are we able to do that?
The only challenge with that, and I want to share this with everybody, is that when you do an actual wire transfer, the wire transfer provides you with all the details, right? All the details, who it was, which account, how the names, it provides everything. When a consumer goes directly to our TD Bank with our banking information and says, here, deposit this check into Remax Ultimate's trust account, all we have is a simple slip, like it's not even a receipt. It's like just a deposit slip, right? There's no names on it or anything like that. So the answer is, it's not a problem. I'm just disclosing that we don't have all the information, right? And we prefer to have all the information. Doing a wire transfer, an actual wire transfer would be the most ideal.
Doesn't that take longer though, Tim?
No.
No?
No. So the
They're instant, correct?
fastest, pardon me?
Aren't wire transfers instant?
Wire transfers are instant, but to answer the question about what happens with all wire transfers is that there is a lag time when it's not TD to TD. So for example, if it's Scotiabank to TD, it might appear either late in the afternoon or the next day at some point. So what we need to happen is you actually have the wire transfer happen, and then you email admin that there is a wire transfer of this amount for this property. Because in the old days, we'd have a filing cabinet, we'd have all these checks in here, and there'd be no offers to match up with the checks. And we'd be waiting for the offers to come in to be able to match up the checks. And sometimes some checks would be the same, and we'd have to call the agent and say, okay, do you know, if there's a bank draft, which bank your client used? So it does create some different scenarios there. But
So you're telling me that movies lied to me?
movies,
Yeah.
it's not 100%. It's instant. It's instant kinda. How's that?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna believe any more action movies. Or
Yeah,
like
no, it's
ransom
not-
payments and all that.
Oh, are you talking about when they're saying, here's a ransom and they put in the code like James Bond?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? That's bullshit.
Yeah. No, I'm not watching any movies. I'm watching chick flicks from now. Jeff and I are watching chick flicks from now on.
Yeah, so we can pull back. We have an allowable time to pull back an actual wire transfer. So if we pay somebody, we have a window of time that we can actually pull that money back from the other bank.
How do we know as agents when that transfer's been done? You know, normally when a bank draft is dropped off, our office us and tells us we've
Get a
got the
receipt.
check.
So that receipt that's provided to, when that receipt is provided by the consumer who made the deposit, if you take a picture of that receipt and email it, it's done. It's actually better. Like, it's actually better to have an actual, like, it's actually faster. They're at the bank, they're doing the wire transfer. It takes more time to do a bank draft and deliver the bank draft to the office and get a receipt than it does when you're at the bank doing it. At that bank moment, at that teller moment, that's the exact.
So it's our
moment.
client that's going to be letting us know, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. And then, if that's forwarded, the most important thing is you as an agent has that evidence, right? And once you have that evidence, it's actually faster than somebody driving to the office and delivering it. Yeah.
Would you know how many brokerages have the capability to wire transfer? Because I know some don't. They're so far behind.
Yeah, so the biggest, in the last 9 weeks, True Character has displayed itself, with a lot of brokerages. We used to have over $1 million. So our trust account fluctuates between $8 million and $13 million for commission, for actual client trust monies. Our commission trust account, so the way it works is money goes into trust account and we're holding it. Once we get confirmation of closing and we have to pay the excess to the buyer, the seller, whoever it might be, it transfers down to commission trust. And that commission trust account, still a trust account, is in essence a clearing account, right? Like, it's supposed to always be at zero, but it's always been about $1.5 million, $1.2 million, 900,000. Since COVID hit, we have to literally make sure that we get the money in our account, that it actually clears before actually paying out. It's like never more than $100,000 at this point, because other brokerages are cashing their checks that fast. Like, they're actually calling us and saying, do not mail, do not do, we'll pick up. To answer Jeff's question, I would say now that over 80% are doing wire transfers. It's exponentially growing fast. The character flaw is that some of the really large brokerages are post-dating them by a couple of days. So what's really embarrassing is that, you're post-dating checks. You should not be post-dating EFTs. Now, we understand if you posted it by a day, because you have to make sure that the money that comes in and it all clears, right? But if it's even 2, is like that gray area, but 3 and 4, that's wrong. That's wrong.
Do you want to out any brokerages amongst friends here?
This is a recording. So I'm not going to out any brokerages, but most brokerages right now have no choice but to jump on and use wire transfer EFT between brokers.
Yeah, even law offices. There's some law offices that insist on paper, and it's ridiculous.
So that is what's changing because of COVID-19. What we're going to see now is some law firms, I won't say firms, some law practices, how's that? The one-man shows are not going to be around. But this is no different than real estate agents. Like respectfully, as an agent, this is your time to embrace technology and learn it and use it in the best light you can. And if a client really wants paper, then you're with that client to do paper. But for the most part, you should be driving the conversation, to using these tools, because somebody else beside you is going to be using them And if you don't seem to know how to use them, that's the choice between using you or somebody else. So embrace the AuthenticSign, DocuSign world. You know, this is the time to learn how to use Collaborate. It's a time that you know how to use all the tools. And I mean, remember the class we did with MPAC, how powerful it was? How much information that people said, oh my God, I've been using MPAC for years, and I've been using only like 2% of it compared to all the stuff that you can use for a listing presentation, right? I have this belief, this saying that I did make up, okay? Sellers buy image, buyers buy homes. Sellers buy image, buyers buy homes. So if you're gonna be at somebody's, if you're gonna interact with somebody, just be prepared and knowledgeable and have your skills sharp that you can show them all the ways that you're always investing in yourself and making sure that you are the best person to support them. Buyers, you know what, man? You could be wearing shorts and flip-flops. You know, they want to see the house. They want to see the electrical panel. They want to see the pool, the curb appeal, like all. They walk right by the agent. Remember my slide at the actual general meeting when we were all together, and it was house, right? It was realtor and then house. Now it's house then realtor, right? Like the house is the most important thing. But when you are working with a seller, don't forget, this is my virtual tour. This is where I'm going to advertise it. These are the tools I use. This is my list of services. This is my support team. All of these things are very, very important when you're dealing with a seller. I'm gonna continue to harp on this. Flexibility and you know, I hate to use this word, but you know, pivoting, shifting, openness is the key right now for the next recovery stage that we're going with, right? If offices were closed the way they were, forget about how they're going to be in the future. But if they were closed, then doing a bank draft, while it worked before COVID, does not work during COVID. So you have to do a wire transfer. We cannot dig our heels in and say, no, I'm going to do a wire transfer, right? You have no choice. So moving forward, the same thing's going to apply with the way we embrace how we do our offers, our presentations. Hey, I'm not sure if she's on the call with us. I haven't seen the name, but I'd like to welcome Lisa Taliano, you know, to Remax Ultimate. Lisa joined us from Keller Williams, and I want you to know that she was a referral from one of our agents, and I've never met Lisa face-to-face yet. I want you to think about that. I met Lisa face-to-face this way. We had more than one meeting, right? We had maybe 4 or 5 meetings, and she's part of our family now, an experienced rock star agent, very professional, high integrity, and she's with our firm, and she joined us through meetings with Zoom. Nothing's impossible. Nothing's impossible. It's how we interpret what we're going through. And that's what we have to, that's my biggest message to everybody. It's our mind is constantly interpreting things based on pain points we've had before, right? The pain and the fear causes interpretation, and sometimes not the right one. What I want to see is people post Victoria Day weekend, you know, if they want to use the office and you have a private office, wear a mask. Don't spend all day there. Go in there for an hour or two. Go in there for 15 minutes. You know, like just go in small spurts. Let's get the body back to life. You know, let's get our minds back to movements in life. That's what I like my message. Did I help with that at all? Or did I confuse everybody more? I don't know. I'm just trying to, I don't want to be overly Mr. Positive, right? But I have a weakness.
Tim, it's Larry.
Yeah. Hey, Larry.
Hi, guys. Listen, there's one thing that I didn't hear from you, and that's a message to all of them that absolutely under no circumstances do we want any clients in any offices.
Oh, you're right about
Zero.
that. Yeah. Yeah. This is not, phase one does not include having clients in the office because that's one extra step that we need to wait for phase two. Thank you, Larry. I appreciate that. Anybody have any comments, concerns, questions?
I do.
Yes.
Tim, we have a client who rented a condo in Yorkville. He gave my clients, the owners are my clients. They live in Winnipeg. They gave them notice to be out for April 30th. My clients, and maybe I'll phone you later about this too. My clients sold their house in Winnipeg, are moving here. The tenants are stuck in Israel. How do they get, and they're not responding to emails from the landlord. They just paid April's rent, May's rent yesterday through wire transfer.
Oh, sorry, if you don't mind. Okay, so you have your client is the owner who lives in Winnipeg.
Yes, he's the landlord.
And the owner in Winnipeg is going to move to Toronto
And move into this unit.
and move into the unit on what day?
Well, he was supposed to, he gave notice to his tenant to be out for April 30th. The tenant agreed to that. But then got stuck in Israel in March.
Okay.
So now the landlord is very concerned. He wants him out so he can move into his condo because he has sold his house and he has to move into this condo.
Okay.
The tenant's not responding to the landlord, and the landlord's saying, you have a son that lives in Toronto, get your stuff out. Here's a company that will move in, pack everything, store it, just write the check, get out of my condo.
So your client, though, has received a rent check for May.
Yeah.
Your client should not be accepting the rent check.
Well, he just asked for the rent check because they're still occupying the unit.
Yeah.
But the moment that you're accepting the rent check, you've extended the actual lease. If there's nobody in the actual unit at all, because they're in Israel, like you're actually extending the lease by at least a month. And I'm not a landlord or tenant board expert, but it almost makes me concerned that the notice period provided is now null and void because you've accepted the rent. And I've been through something like that before. Now, if Candido's nodding over there, so I think he knows something that I'm saying is accurate. You want to chime in here, Candido?
You're absolutely right, Tim.
So you're
And the landlord. No, you're right. By the minute you accept the rent check, you accept them for another 4 months because you can argue either way, but somebody will say that, well, you've accepted the check, so you're accepting rent. Therefore, you now need to give them a new notice to vacate the property for another 4 months.
4 months or 2 months, 60 days.
60 days. Sorry, 60 days. I was thinking of something else. 60 days. But today is the 8th, so you'd have to actually it's almost like 90 days because you have to give them before the 1st, and now that's not possible.
Yeah, so your client should not accept the actual rent for May. Even though the money's come in, there should be an email sent immediately saying we are not accepting the rent. You've made a wire deposit into my account. I never wanted it, don't want it. I'm going to give it back to you, right?
although he had sent emails saying pay the May's rent then?
Well, then at this point, your client's caused a problem for himself because he's in essence voided the termination. Now, the question that everybody needs to know, the answer, sorry, that I want to, for the question I want to answer for everybody is that I myself have been on a landlord and tenant act tribunal case last week. So if you're thinking that they're all closed, they're not closed anymore. They're working by phone, teleconference.
Okay,
So
good.
things are working in a different way, but we're back to work. Okay?
Okay.
Just want you to know that. So your client, Monica, your client has rights. Your client should be calling the landlord and tenant act immediately and explaining what happened. And that, they're going to be homeless and that they need to be in that. And the only reason why they have not left Winnipeg with their U-Haul, all ready to come down is because we're not getting any feedback here, and we want to change the locks and evict the tenant.
Yeah, and the issue is also because traveling isn't going to be a thing. So our clients are saying, well, they might not make it home for another year. And all their stuff is in the unit. And they were supposed to be home by March 20th, and they decided not to come on the flight, and now they're stuck.
So if the actual client in Winnipeg has flexibility, that's a good thing. The bad thing is that they're avoiding their notice period. The good thing is they have flexibility from coming back. I was more concerned with the owner in Winnipeg having no place to live, right? Like no way of coming back.
Concern. That is a concern moving forward.
Okay, but they wanted it May 1st. They're not coming for up to a year.
They wanted to do some renovations to it before they moved in. So that's the problem. But now the renovations aren't going to happen, and they're nervous. They're like, okay, we can make things work for a couple of months, but not.
They got to call the landlord and tenant board. Sorry, they got to call as soon as possible, and they got to make a decision based on that advice.
Can I add something to Tim?
Yep.
I was going to suggest you can call the landlord and tenant board to see what they say, but I would call a paralegal as well, just because the possessions that they have could be worth $5,000, but once they get moved and touched, now they're worth $50,000.
Say that again.
The minute you touch their possessions, you have to be very careful that they don't come back and say that the value of the possessions are now worth $50,000 or $100,000, and you're responsible for it, because they have the right to pick it up. So you can't kick a tenant out until you have an order. So you might want to speak with a paralegal as well. Because if you touch their stuff and something gets broken or something goes missing, now you're responsible. Or the landlord.
Yeah.
And I'd also like to add there that because they're not evicting any tenants right now, whether they're open or not, Tim, they're not evicting tenants right now, and that's going to be for the foreseeable future. So the tenant will have almost all the rights at this point, and unfortunately, the landlord. The only option at this point that I see is that the landlord and tenant work mutually together to come up with a solution. And if they can't, then I recommend that you advise your landlord to come up with their own solution that's going to accommodate themselves. And as long as that tenant keeps paying rent and the landlord's accepting it, then they technically have a contract.
So you got that, right, Monica and Sarah? Like, again, you've heard it more than once. The moment they accept that money, everything changes.
Yeah.
Everything changes. Now, I do agree with Andre and Candido that there is a freeze on evictions, but the freeze on evictions from what I have spoken to is more so for people not paying rent, not for people who've already decided to move out, right? So just call a paralegal, get the advice, make sure that because we're not here experts, right? We know, but we're not, right down to the minute. We may not have the answer because it's always changing. A week ago, there were no calls. Now I'm getting calls, right? For stuff.
And Monica, honestly, don't call the landlord tenant board. They're tenant, they're pro tenant, and they're not going to even give you the proper advice. To be honest with you, like Candido said, call a paralegal that specializes in this, because they are way more up to date with what is going on and what can be done and cannot be done. And I've experienced that numerous times. So don't bother with the landlord tenant board. Call a paralegal.
Okay.
That's great advice. I never thought that calling them would be a detriment. I just thought that it would be just to see how they're operating and what's open and closed and everything else. But
They
got a
only
great
know
point.
they only know the rules that they are told. They don't know what really happens with case law and all the other stuff. They don't have that experience. They're just people behind the desk answering calls. They're not there to give you any legal advice.
Okay. Thank you.
Sarah, if you need one, I have one. I can send it to you later on.
Oh, do that, Candido. Send it.
Yeah, so I have used the paralegal in the past, and he's really good. He used to be a former adjudicator at the tribunal, so he knows the ins and outs.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yep.
I actually like a copy of that too, Candido, so we can add it to our list of service providers. If they're good and they're reasonable, why not? Anything that could help our team.
He's reasonable. He's just not cheap, but he's reasonable.
Yeah, but we have great
But he gets
agents.
the job done.
Our great agents aren't inexpensive either.
Sorry, Tim, I said a quick question.
Yes.
Just wondering, do you know what the capacity of the new paperless software is going to extend out towards? I was just curious because you said you guys had ramped up and now it's completed. So
The actual paperless software is from beginning to end, Gabri. Like basically, you start from the moment you start the entire process of a listing agreement or an amendment or an offer or a waiver, whatever you're doing, it submits. You have access. It goes right into a transaction desk, like an actual room, and that is your point of contact when you're doing everything. When you click submit, it goes right into our accounting side, our back end, and it actually gives you the thumbs up and thumbs down with the documents. If they're done properly, things missing, file requirements, you name it, it's all going to be there.
Oh, that's cool. So it's almost like a secondary gateway through Authentisign, I'm assuming?
It is Authentisign.
Oh, it is Authentisign. Okay, got it. Perfect.
So it's completely, I mean, our team we're requesting that everybody submits their paperwork through this platform, because we'll never ever receive that argument or debate, and never saying it's anybody's fault. I'm just telling you that it happens. I sent it. I never received it, right? The moment you submit it, it's in that cloud base. It's all timestamped, and even our lawyers are going to have access to it. So the lawyer that you choose will be able to pull the actual transaction right off that back office.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and your client's signatures, you name it, it's all there. Yes, it will include your trade record sheet.
Will we need a special license for that? Other than Authentisign?
No. Remax Ultimate has invested in that for every single agent at no extra cost.
What happens if we don't want Authentisign and we want to keep using Next One?
So you can keep on using Next One, but when you submit your paperwork to Remax Ultimate, you'll have to submit it through the reality is, no, it's okay. You can use the software you're using, but it's just a submission. The submission is going to be through Authentisign, right? And right. It's not that you don't have to recreate anything. It's just the submission part of it. Your trade record sheet will come through Authentisign. So you'll get it, you'll click on a button, you'll sign it, it'll come right back to the admin on the spot. Like just boom, done. You fill out your trade record sheet on the computer, like I'm getting 10% on this $13 million property. Yes. Closing in 2 weeks and it's cash and it's firm. And you calculate it, it does it, it goes right to the back office, bang, 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 and it happens. Very similar to Next One, Jeff.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's just I'm so used to, Next One.
Of course.
Oh well.
Anything else you guys want to talk about?
One last question.
Yes.
So if I go into Authentisign, it's automatically hooked up already, or is there anything that we need?
No. We're going to make the announcement. We are
Oh.
just finalizing the actual kits. So when you want to do a listing presentation, there'll be a kit with all the forms built into it. We're doing the back end, everything like file requirements, they're almost completed. We're doing the final stages of training. Once we're done that, so that we know how it flows through right to the lawyer, then we're going to make an announcement. And that's when you're going to be able to do it. And we're going to request some patience. There's going to be some hiccups. There'll be some pushback. But we need to understand that this is for the betterment of everybody. It's not meant to, this is not, I had a comment already from one of our agents. This is not a way for us to save money. This is actually costing a lot of money. This is actually an investment in the flow to make things easier and to be more secure and to be ready for any virus or change that comes. We're kind of looking ahead. And we're not the only ones. I can say that most of our surrounding offices are jumping on board. Some of them are going to use SkySlope. Some are going to use Next One. Some of them are going to use, Reprieve. We've chosen Authentisign Transaction Desk because it's the one that's going to be built into Stratus, right? That's the one that when you click on it, on a listing, on Stratus, start offer. And it goes right from there. Grabs all the information and goes to flow through.
It actually already is, Tim, in some cases.
No, I know that. Thank you. Don't misunderstand me. Not everybody knows that, right? You know that you're off, like you're ahead of the curve on that, and I appreciate it, right? But it's going to get even more integrated. Quick question before I let you guys go. So I have a question here. It says that client wants to assign a listing and they don't have email. Is it safe to go and get signatures? Who wants to answer that question?
Yes. Put a mask on.
Exactly. Please wear a mask. Make sure your client is wearing a mask. As uncomfortable and as unreasonable as it may seem. Sorry,
you can use one of those showing kits. Shameless plug.
Yeah.
One of the showing kits can also be an offer kit. A signature
Actually,
kit.
You're right. The showing kit has really taken off, and it's provided a lot of security for a lot of consumers, like a lot of buyers and sellers. Since you mentioned the showing kit, I want you to know that at this point we are actually sourcing direct vendors to provide our agents with direct orders of a showing kit comparable. It won't be the same way, but it's going to be more of a bulk order for you to use. And it's probably going to save you money as well. So we're looking at ways to save money for everybody. And that should be coming in the next few days. We'll make sure we make an announcement on that. And then in our office, there's people like Sandra Lee, who has a relative who provides protective equipment. We have Effie Paniatopoulos. Her family owns a business. They can provide protective equipment. It's really, really an opportunity for you to save some money if you want to as well. I have a comment here to everyone. Some agents are not following protocol for showings. What can we do about this? I want you to know that there's a house for sale next door to mine, and I've witnessed that happening. And what I've told a lot of our agents is be present, even outside, for some of the showings. There's really nothing you can really do. You can't be everywhere at the same time, but the agents are signing off that they are following the protocols. And we could have a conversation offline, Jimmy, to discuss what you're experiencing, so we can provide some guidance on that. Oh, and by the way, Remax Integra is going to send out Remax branded face masks. You're all going to get one.
Yay.
Okay, so that'd be pretty cool. Now, it
Tim,
won't be pink, but
Tim,
yes.
what we're doing is people are asking us to price their homes and blah, blah. We have a package put together and we're telling them that we're COVID aware and that we follow the ministry guidelines to a T, but we'll also be there for every showing. And if the buyer's agents don't have gloves or masks, or we'll provide them for each showing. So because there are people who do have strong worries and don't want to list their house. So I think it's not crazy busy. I think as agents we should show up for every showing right now.
I want to add something, right? The average mask, not the N95s, right? But the average mask is about $1 each. That's what they are.
You can get them. There's a gas station on Kennedy at Moonham or whatever, $1 a mask.
Yeah. So my point to you is that they're roughly about $1 each. And I know that Effie and Sandra in our office, their families have the access. You can buy 50, 100, 150 in bulk, right? So how much money would you spend to get a listing? Would you spend $500 to get a listing? Like, would you spend $1,000 to get a listing? Most of us would spend more than that for a listing. I agree with you. If I'm not trying to put my opinion or impose my opinion, I'm just saying that I would have a box of these masks and I'd be handing them out if I had to. Longos, if you go to Longos, you have to wear a mask to go in. But if you don't have a mask, what do? They give you one, right? So our staff, they're all going to have masks. We're just going to do their best we can to protect everybody and do what we can. So we should all have masks. And you can go out and buy your own mask to be, stylish and everything else. I get that, but there's no reason why you can't have a box. And they come in packs of 5 usually, right? So they're $5 for a pack of 5. That way you're not touching them. You have your clients, you're showing properties, and there's 2 of them. Here's a pack of 5. Let's go show, right? And now those little small sanitizers that you buy from even the dollar store, they're in stock everywhere now. We've seen them, right? So it's just buy a bag of them. Doesn't matter if they're Fruity Tooty or Lavender Lush or whatever they are. You know what I mean? You give them that on your hand and away we go. That's the way we're going to be working moving forward. We need to be proactive and we need to be prepared for anything. Sounds good? Do you guys find this? I hope you found it, valuable. Again, if there's any questions that you have that you want to ask, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're here to guide you. And I just want to leave you off with the same thought as earlier, is that things are more and more positive, but just don't let that positivity let your guard down in the way you conduct yourself, okay? Just still remember to be safe, and we'll continue to keep you updated as the time goes on.
Thank you, Tim.
Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you again for the birthday wishes.
Thank you, Tim.